Hello, we are live across X, previously known as Twitter, and we are live across YouTube on our channel. Of course, thanks for joining me. It's the caller here to brighten your Friday evening, hopefully brighten it, with just a banging lineup this evening. So let's go round the room. Let's introduce everyone and let us know where you're watching from too around the world. Do stick it in the chat. We love your comments. We especially like it if you hit the like button. No pressure. Hit the like button. Or I'll set this man on you. Leon, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thanks for the invite. I'm a big fan of you guys and a big fan of the show. I promise to be on my best behaviour. Try not to annoy everyone. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's a good job the audience aren't easily offended because not only Leon on the show, we've got Dave back. What a segue. Dave, welcome back to the show. It is always a pleasure to do a show with you. I'm really pleased you could join us on the Lads It's Tottenham channel. How are you? How is Sydney or is it Melbourne you're in? I can't remember.
No, Sydney, where things happen. Melbourne's where it's lovely to be back on, and lovely to be here with Leon, who I'm a huge admirer in many ways. So it's great to see him. And I'm also loving the 70s glam rock theme tune that you've got going on there. Yeah, it's lovely. So thank you very much. Lovely to be back.
Have you got Gallagher tickets yet?
That's a bit of a sore point, but they are coming down to Sydney November next year. So I'll have 8 laptops going at the time when the tickets go on sale.
Good. Well, if you could get 8 laptops going now, it'll improve the viewing numbers. So crack on with that. Well, I introduce HG. HG, how are you, sir? How is Vienna?
Yeah, Vienna's well. Actually, Vienna is very much like the UK, kind of light drizzle for about 4 days now. I'm getting a bit annoyed or a bit homesick, to be fair. But yeah, I'm looking around the 4 cameras and I'm thinking I really need to do something behind me. Like this is like, you got Davo's lovely like flat behind him, and Leon's got all those books to make himself look smarter than I am. I can't have that. And then Calder's got all that stuff that makes him look like a Spurs fan. So yeah, I've got to do something. But I'm well, actually. I'm doing well.
I look forward to seeing what you do with the space.
What I really want to do is get like my daughter's artwork up. It's pretty good. And
that's nice. That's cool.
It's not bad. Like
that's good.
She does not get that from me. But yeah, that would be the dream. Put that behind me. Anyway.
A little collage going behind you. Get to paint some Tottenham stuff as well.
I should let her paint the wall. My wife would kill me.
Go freestyle. I think Craig's got the best suggestion, to be honest. A nice frame, Brennan Johnson. But we will go on to that. Look, Leon getting love in the chat already from Jack, one of our other Illuminati.
He's one of my favourites, Jack.
He's a good lad. We've got a packed show for you tonight. We're going to look back at Europa. I've had a bottle of wine, so forgive any slip from the tongue. The Europa League match from last night. And we have, of course, got Brighton here at the weekend away at the Amex Stadium. So small, it probably belongs in the Championship, let's be honest. But not always a happy hunting ground from us. So if there are any Brighton fans in the chat, let us know where you're watching from. Brighton, hopefully. Here we go. Let's get into last night's game. 2-1 victory. Of course, we did it the hard way. They worried us at the end a little bit there. But let's talk about the lineup because Postecoglou did elect to make some changes. So, the likes of Archie Gray getting a start. It's going to be all the way through. I just tell you now, like the slips of the tongue are going to be all the way through. So set your expectations low.
He's gone partridge already.
Lancashire up front. Bergvall got a start. Mikey Moore. We'll come and talk on about him in a minute. Leon, how excited were you when you saw this lineup, and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was pleased actually. It was good to see the 4 kids starting. Felt slightly concerned about Gray at centre back. I feel a bit sorry for him really. I know he played a lot of games at right back for Leeds last year, but He's done right back. He's done centre back. He's done a bit of left back. He hasn't really played in midfield. So felt a bit for him. Bergval's looking forward to, and good to see Lancashire starting up front, and obviously Moore as well. Really excited about him. Werner.
Less excited about Werner.
It's just a body, isn't it? It's just someone on the pitch, isn't it? It's just. I guess we'll get onto the game, and we'll talk about Werner, but seeing Werner and seeing Davies kind of dampened my enthusiasm. But no, look, I was really pleased with the lineup, and I'm pleased he stuck them in there.
Dave, I mean, lots of expensive summer signings in there that Levy obviously opened the checkbook for in the summer. Did you have similar thoughts to Leon? Were you pleased with that lineup?
Well, put your fishing rod away because I ain't going there. Thanks very much. Look, I think I don't subscribe to the Tottenham channel sponsored by our owners, so I don't get a chance to see Mikey Moore or Lancashire that often. So I was really excited about seeing them because it's been exciting to see them in action. Gray's beginning to resemble Gary Mabbutt in his first season at Tottenham. He played just about every position going before going on to stellar career of our club. So yeah, I was excited. And as for Timo Werner, if Timo Werner, thank you. That's a comedy doorbell, is it?
Who's delivering to my house this late at night?
Is that your doorbell?
Well, it's a smart doorbell, so it's got like a Halloween theme going on.
Do you also have a high-tech doorbell as well?
Yeah. I've got 2 cameras that are viewing it now, so I can tell you it was an Amazon delivery person at this time of night. Which is,
has your panic room been activated?
Clip that. That's a good one.
They're just bringing you another bottle of wine, surely, caller. That's what it is.
Well, the reason why the alarm went off is because the words Timo and Werner were said. So if Timo Werner is the answer, what is the question? That's all I have to say.
HG, if Timo Werner is the answer, what is the question?
The question is, who did Leon and I hate us signing back in January and really hate us signing whenever it was May to re-sign him? That's probably what it is. Or which player hasn't? Who is the worst player, or the biggest difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID? That might be Timo Werner.
Do you think it's let's talk about Timo for a minute, then we'll come on to the kids. Do you think it's fair to say he's just a bit low on confidence, and it will come, Leon, or is it like, is it gone? Because he was prolific in Germany.
I mean, I think he was before Chelsea bought him. I think I was thinking about Werner today. Obviously, knowing I'm coming onto the show, we'd probably talk about him. And I think the best way to describe him is he's just really consistent, isn't he? Like, you do know what you're going to get with him. Like, he seems like a nice guy. He's quick, but the moment he needs to make a decisive pass or make a decision in front of goal in terms of where he's going to shoot, it's like you on 3 bottles of wine presenting the show. It just kind of goes, doesn't it? Like I don't think he's low on confidence. He's just not very good, is he? Like, he's consistent, doesn't score many, doesn't assist, misses some really bad chances. And the last couple of games, that's essentially what we've seen, haven't we? And I guess, I feel a bit sorry for him, but then he's on allegedly £165,000 a week. So that soon disappears. He's very well paid to miss these chances. But I just think he probably shouldn't be put in that position. Quite why we signed him, other than our chairman seeing it as good business. So I've been told that's the only reason I can kind of get my head around it, because he's not good enough to be playing or even a bit part player, in my opinion.
HG, the lineup, obviously we know what you think of Werner, but the youngsters, who impressed you?
I think of the 4, probably Archie Gray, just for the fact that he was asked to do a whole bunch of things that we know he's never really done, and he didn't look terrible. In fact, at left back, he looked pretty good. I'm nervous about him playing in midfield because, it's weird. We haven't really seen it, we didn't see it in pre-season. So the idea of putting him into a game seems a bit like, oh, well, we don't know. But yeah, I think with the ball, if the game is in front of him, he's okay. He's not the best defender, but he's comfortable on the ball. And if we want our fullbacks to play in midfield, there's probably a reason why he looked better doing that than Ben Davies did, as much as Davies is a fullback. So, yeah, I think he was the best of the four teenagers. Mikey Moore was probably just behind him. But that doesn't mean I thought Bergvall or Lancashire were bad. I just think the other two adapted better to the conditions and had a better game.
Goals were good though, Dave, weren't they?
They were good goals. So he likes scoring in the Europa. He's doing all right there. I think he's been a bit usurped by Kulusevski in the Premier League starting lineup. I think Sar's gone off a little bit towards the end of last season.
Who scored the other one? I can't quite recall.
Who was the other one?
Might be the wine.
4 or 5 games in a row.
Well, I don't know the name of the defender whose leg it went in off.
Was it this guy, HG? Was it?
Who is that?
That's our £50 million winger.
It is.
That's
50 million.
Brennan apparently. So yeah. So all the question I've got for you is what excuse are you all what box are you ticking? What box are you ticking on here? I want you to apologise on the air, all of you, for the Brennan Johnson hate. Dave, I've not seen you for a while, but I can hear it. I can hear it in your head. It's been there. Leon, I've seen it a bits from you. HG, I mean, you may as well get a megaphone, stand on Tottenham Hotspur Stadium next to the giant cock and scream, I dislike Brennan Johnson for not being good enough. So which box are you ticking, HG? Tell me now.
I mean, I still don't think he's good enough, but that's, I guess if I have to pick one, I would go with you were pushing my buttons because that means it's someone else's fault. Look, I'm happy that he's scoring.
Yeah.
But, if you took the goals away, what does he do? Not much. If you ask him to, I realize that's not the greatest thing to say because goals obviously matter.
They do.
But I don't he's a decent finisher, but we've said that actually all the time. Like if you put him in front of goal where there's no defenders around him, he can put the ball in the net. Yeah. So this goal was slightly different because there were defenders in front of him. But I just think like if Spurs are to be what I want them to be, which is like challenging for every single competition, then Brennan Johnson, as he currently would be lucky to be in the squad and probably only there because he's homegrown. But that probably won't change. Like someone will ask me today, if he scored 30 goals this season, would you think he was a good player? And I guess I'd probably think he was a good finisher. There are differences here. It's like saying that Spurs were good enough to beat Ferencváros, but they weren't good. Like there are levels to these things, and I just don't think that. I don't trust his quality. I will say, weirdly enough, I was more impressed by the strike that hit the crossbar because he clearly meant to do that. I mean, not hit the crossbar, but he meant to hit it as well as he did, than I was by the goal. But
I was impressed with him last week against United. The one at the post, particularly, was almost a carbon copy of the one the week before. But yeah, let's move on. Dave, what is your
so a couple of things here, right? I have defended Brennan, and I joined the dark side of HG and Gibbo finally. I was tired at 1:30, 2 o'clock Monday morning after the North London derby. I finally relented. I gave in to the dark side. I was annoyed at him for his inability to take on a player, get to the byline and stick a cross in, right? So I was arguing Waddle and Anderton had bad starts to their Tottenham career and went on to be the legends that they were. And that's what I was going with Brennan. So I'm apologising for my moment of weakness after the North London derby. What I would say about Brennan is this. In a way, he reminds me a bit of Aaron Lennon, right? Now, I've got a soft spot for Aaron Lennon. And yeah, he could beat a man. And yeah, he had used his pace to beat a man. But Lennon and Johnson's crossing abilities are pretty similar, right? Lennon always did a little dinky crossing, Modric, crouch away at AC Milan, all that kind of. He never did the big, Ginola beat 3 men and stick across on someone's head and then it went, right? And so he's kind of limited in that way, like Lennon was. But I like Lennon; he was effective in a way. So I'm saying to Brendan, I'm sorry, I was tired, but I'm pleading the time zone difference.
Okay, fair enough. Leon, have you got a box you would tick there?
I mean, look, there's probably several, but I think the one that's most relevant is I ran out of my meds. Is probably the one for me. I ran out of my meds. So I'll blame it on that. It was my alter ego. I kind of agree with HG on this. Like, I mean, firstly, he scored five in a row.
Yeah.
Fantastic, and you know,
against high quality opposition as well.
Hang on a second. High quality. Now
you can only beat who's in front of you, and there's been plenty of players that are better than him that haven't done this.
Look at Werner.
Firstly, like Werner, of course, fair play to him, but I still don't think he's good enough. I'd like to see a lot more than 5 games.
What does he have to do to convince you? Scoring every game from now till the end of the season, or
it's not even so much about the goals; it's more about, can he take his man on? Can he put in some consistent performances? Because there's been a long run of some really, really, really bad games.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't remember many good ones from last season, to be honest with you. My memory's not great, but he wasn't fantastic last season, and he started this season really poorly. Obviously, he had to deactivate his social media, which is not on at all. No one should be abusing any players, certainly not our own players. That's disgusting. So to come back from that and score 5 in a row, great. But I want to see it all season.
Can you help me here? What does mean? Yeah, go for it. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. So there was a moment in the game last night where Johnson got to the byline, put the ball into the box, and there was no one there. Right, he just put it into an area where people would score if they were there, but there was no one there. And I've heard people say, "Well, his teammates should be there," and I don't subscribe to that. Like to me, the cross should go to where the people are, rather than just putting it into an area and assuming that someone will be there. Like, how do you three? What do you three think about that,
Dave?
Well, that's the thing about his crossing. At times, lets him down. But you know why Lancashire missed that header in the first half? Because he was so shocked and surprised that Werner beat a man and put a cross in and stuck it on his head. He'd never seen that before. So sorry, I thought to get a bit of Werner slating it. Look, Brennan Johnson. Listen, I think that we've spent a lot of money on him. Would I rather we spent the money on someone else? Yeah. Do I think he's good enough? Maybe not. But you've got. I mean, all this stuff about online abuse and things like that. It's a load of old nonsense. I mean, the worst thing is that I feel sorry for Brennan's parents, right? If you're having to sit in a stadium and someone's like slagging him off when you're sitting there watching a game and then he scores a goal at the end, that'd be an awful position to be in.
Especially, yeah. I mean, his poor parents.
This quote from Jim: like, he didn't assist. He wasn't on the pitch for the first goal. Like, people are now making things up. Like, the 5 goals are great, but you don't need to make stuff up. I mean, like, I don't understand it. I think people are so desperate for him to succeed, which I get. We're Spurs fans. Like, I'm happy that he's scoring, but if I'm going to judge a player, then for the position that he does, that's not enough. Like, he's getting on the end of moves that other people do, which is okay, brilliant, but he's not adding much to the other side of the game. And like, I want players that do both of those things. Like, I want us to sign players that can score and can create. And Brennan hasn't really shown that to me. But that's just me.
Give Jim his due. He's corrected himself there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. I'm going to say that. I'm sorry, Brennan. I misjudged you, and it's not on the list. But all I needed to do was have a word with your dad, who's clearly passed that message on.
It's because of you, is it?
I'm taking full credit for the resurgence of Brennan Johnson.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
It was my calming words that have helped this situation.
And long may it continue. Like, don't go to another game caller. Like, if you were the reason that you went and you met his dad, then don't go again.
Look what he did Leicester away a couple of years ago. Left early and we won. So maybe there's a point in that.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Mikey Moore. Let's talk about Mikey Moore. I think we need to. 17-year-old whiz kid. Ange had a couple of things to say in his post-match press conference. How many 17-year-olds are playing in the Premier League? Yeah, Yamal is brilliant, mate, but it's not a common thing, the Spurs head coach said. And basically,
Is he Welsh? Is Ange Welsh?
He said, Bonadar, Shumai. He went on to talk about, he's, how young he is, physically immature, emotionally, potentially immature as well. So got to wrap him in cotton wool and handle him with care. Who was the last 17-year-old to break on the scene that big in the Premier League, as big as he could in the Premier League?
Andy Turner.
You bastard. I was going to say that.
How was Rooney? How old was Rooney?
16. He was 16 when he scored against Arsenal.
Yeah, he was 16, and that
He's built like a brick shithouse, wasn't he, Rooney?
Yeah, Rooney was 16, and Grandma was about 54, something like that. Sorry, I'm sorry, my mind's gone somewhere else. My bad. Yeah, Andy Turner and Wayne Rooney.
There you go. So it's pretty rare, isn't it, Leon? So excited about more. Rare. Excited about more, please. What you see?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. I can't remember who put it on Twitter, one of the journos, but they were surprised how strong he was, and I kind of agree with that. Like, he's pretty skillful. He's got a bit of pace, but some players are bouncing off him. I'd start him against Brighton. I'd play him instead of Werner. I think he deserves his chance.
I think I'd play instead of Werner, if I'm being really honest. But Dave, would you do the same? Mikey Moore for Brighton?
No, I know that you struggle with me exhibiting excitement, so I'm going to do my very best here. I am excited about Mikey Moore.
This is me excited.
I am excited. I love his confidence on the ball. As I said, I don't subscribe to Levy Vision, so I don't get to watch him every week. But he, all the reports about him, the confidence that he has, I love it. And I think someone said he reminds him of Gaza. The way that he's on the ball, lines, all that, and the way his body is, and he's exciting. He's got a bit of cockiness about him. I can see him getting sent off. I can see him getting into trouble. That's all right. I like it. He is the answer. Whereas Timo Werner is the German Coco Lamella, as far as I'm concerned.
No, let's give him his due. He's available more than Coco Lamella. HG, you keep your eyes on the prize when it comes to football, and maybe some other things as well that we don't know about. Leon got a few stories in the past. Let's break it down. Mikey Moore, how good can he be? And would you put him in? It doesn't sound like Angie's going to put him in because he's talking about protecting him, etc. But do you think that he should be? And what do you foresee for the future with him?
I mean, the future, he can be whatever really he wants to be. Like, to be at the level he's at 17, we talked about it. It's not normal, right? But he seems like a relatively simple guy. Like, he's not going to. I mean, he's just left school. Do you know what I mean? Like, most of us are trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, and he's doing it at 17. So, yeah, I hope that he will become a Spurs legend and will be the guy that is on the first name on the team sheet. But I don't expect him to play as often as maybe we want him to right now because we've got a number of injuries. Like, I do want, he would be behind Son, he would be behind Odegaard, they would be playing ahead of him. Right now, yeah, like Werner, I expect him to play more games, but I do think that, but once Christmas comes around, there's no reason to have Werner ahead of him. But hopefully by that point, you'll have other players back. So like Moore will be on the bench, or he'll come on and play 10, 20 minutes, and that's okay. We're going to have, I feel like in the Europa League, the games we've got over the next 3 or 4 are probably the more difficult ones. Like, we've got to go to Turkey, and we've got like Roma coming to Spurs, and that's a big name if they're not playing too well. But, if we get victories in those games, in the last 2 or 3, he can start those games because, we'll probably have qualified at least for one of the knockout parts. So there's a massive future. But I kind of agree with Ange that he won't play regularly just because the others are out, that he will come in and, like, he might play against Man City in the cup game. I would expect him to maybe start that one. But for the next month or 2, I think that the appearances will be pretty sporadic.
The only thing I would say on the slight negative side of it, a lot of the attacks last night were going down Porro's side. a lot. And so I think that is a part of the game that he's going to need to improve on in relation to that. Or maybe his best position really is where the number 10, really. Because I just felt that last night it was all going down Porro's side. And there's a reason for that, because of the way that Mikey Moore was playing. But to be honest with you, I'm going to have excitement here. I'd start him instead of Son and Odegaard based on Son's current form as well. We got nothing to lose here. Moore's at the start of his career. Son's at the end of his career. Sorry, everybody. I know that people get upset about that.
No, I mean, like, I just think, like, at 17, it's not like, if he was 19, I'd be all for it. But you know, like, he's only just 17. Like 2 months ago, like, he is really a kid. You know, like, I suppose there are going to be rules about that he has to change separately from the rest of the team because he's still a child. Like, things like that will affect things. I don't know. I feel like last night, when it came to the teenagers, like Bergvall and Lancashire were probably a bit safe. Like they kept the ball and they moved the ball and they played a team game, which is great. Like, you need that. But at some point, you're going to need to have a bit more moxie. And I think Gray and Moore showed that they were willing to take people on and play their natural game, and they weren't concerned about the fact it was a European tie and it was an important one. And so it's just nice to see, because, like, we haven't seen young players come through at Spurs since, you know, he who must not be named, and we've had exactly him.
Harry Winks.
Harry Winks.
So I don't know. I can't think of many names over the last 10 years that we've really wanted to see that just didn't make it. But this crop is a pretty good crop, and let's hope they get their chances.
So I thought Lancashire did all right, actually. He looked like, as I said, I haven't seen much of him. I thought he looked like a proper centre forward. Nice build. I thought he held the ball up well, brought others into play.
I didn't say he was bad. I just said I thought that he played it safe.
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, he should be, right? Like,
I thought out of the four of them, Bergvall had the worst game. I didn't think he was that great.
I'm disappointed with him so far, if I'm being really honest, because, you know, I watched him away at Cov, and when he came on against Leicester, he actually looked pretty decent. He takes a good set piece. He does put a good corner in. I'll say that. But his all-round play, compared to what his YouTube highlight reel showed, I'm a little bit disappointed with him so far. Leon, are you feeling the same? He doesn't feel like he's taking his chances to show us what he can really do.
No, I thought he looked good kind of pre-season, and he'd done all right in the games up until last night. And it wasn't that he was poor. He just, I think it's HG said, it was just a bit safe. He didn't kind of stand out at all or kind of take any risks. But he's only a kid, isn't he? Like, he's 18 and he's coming from a league in Sweden. I mean, it's what level is that? Like second division, first division? You know, it's such a big step up. I'm not going to judge him on a few games. I think he can be a player. He's just not as advanced as Gray or Moore, is he?
I mean, I did chuckle at the old. I mean, I generally chuckled throughout the Old Trafford game, but when Bergvall stuck in a decent corner, and then Ericsson came on, and his first corner didn't beat the near post.
I think everyone did.
It's like putting on a comfy pair of old slippers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think everybody knew when Ericsson took that corner where it was going.
Yeah,
including the United fans probably. Let's look forward then. Brighton against Spurs. Anyone on the panel been to Brighton before or lived there? Maybe.
Yeah, I spent some time down there. That was quite enjoyable. I spent about 6 years living in Brighton. I've got a few stories, not for here, obviously. We'll get kicked off YouTube, but yeah, good place. Fond memories.
I often went there to go and look at the art galleries and museums on the weekend away in Brighton. Very cultural place.
Yeah. What's the nightclub called there, Dave?
The Zap, Escape, Buddha Lounge.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
There you go.
But you don't want to hear a bunch of boomers talk about the 90s. So let's
I missed that comment. I missed the question that you asked HC, because I was like, boomers. Obviously, the fact that I needed to look it up showed that I am a boomer.
Well, no, you're not though, are you?
But no, I'm not that old.
No.
Leon, my kids call me a boomer. All right.
Okay.
My kid, I think I'm the oldest here, so my kids call me a boomer. right?
Yeah.
People born 2 decades following World War II. I mean, got
Yeah,
some
that's not us.
grey hair.
Not me at all. I'm a freaking millennial, for God's sake, just.
No, you're Gen Y. The below the bottom half of the panel, I think, is Gen X. Above the panel, Gen Y. I reckon.
I think you'll find 82 is a millennial.
You're a millennial.
Turn of the millennium. Yeah.
It's weird. Like, I mean, I'm probably more of a millennial than Caller is, but age-wise, it would be the other way around. That is true.
And regardless, I mean, when he put 4 boomers, I thought he was talking about Brennan Johnson's last 4 strikes on goal. To be honest, which was the joke I was going to follow up with. But yeah,
I knew exactly what was being said there.
There you go. Well, you're on trend, aren't you, Dave? That's why. Let's talk team news for Brighton. Son is struggling, and Destiny is expected to be back, which is good. However, the good news is Werner is available. Odegaard and Richarlison still injured, and Solanke. Oh, we should say Solanke's had an England call up. Yeah, that's a good prompt actually. Deserved, Leon? Do you think he deserved that?
Yeah, I'll probably go against the grain here, but I'm always disappointed when our players get called up for internationals. I'd rather they never played for their countries. I just want them playing for Tottenham. Less exposure and less chance of getting injured. So appreciate that's not, probably not what everyone thinks, but I think he does deserve it. Like, he's had a good start to the season. Was it 4? He's got 4 goals.
4 in
5
4
games. I don't know.
Just traded by Brennan. 4 captains as well.
Our top scorer. No. Look, definitely. Actually, I've been impressed by him in the games that he's played. To be honest with you, he's better than I thought he was.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
This is pressing, isn't it? It's pressing. I watched the. Did you watch the? Any of you watched the 4-4-2 analysis of the United game, which sort of went into Solanke puts the press on both centre backs, and it's rare to get a forward that can put a press across 2 centre backs. But his work rate, he's not slow either. And when you watch it, he really does cover a shitload of ground. So you can see from that perspective why he's perfect to lead the press. Because we just ain't had that for ages. Son can't do it. Kane couldn't do it. Let's be honest. In his latter days,
no.
So I think Solanke, I'm going to have to get one of those apology forms out for him. I never slated him. I just said it was a bit underwhelming. But actually, I think maybe the club got that one right.
Would you prefer Tony or Solanke in the summer?
Well, I said at the time, Tony, that I'm going to probably have to stand by that because I think Tony's a top quality finisher. But then I can, in terms of what Ange wants from his system, maybe it was simply a case of this guy suits what we want to play better. Maybe. What do you think, HG?
I definitely think he suits what we want to do. Like, I think in a perfect world, we may have tried to get both. Because as a front two, it might have worked on those chances we needed to.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
But, this is it. And then Solanke's
You're setting these two off now. The collective head shaking is...
Can't have 2 strikers. I mean, think about the wages for a start. Think about the wages.
We've never. Our club have never had 2 strikers. Crooks, Archibald, Reed, Gilsey. No, awful.
Yeah, certainly not this decade.
You're trying to make us do a Leeds, HG. Honestly.
Yeah, you want Peter Ridsdale in charge. What's the matter with you?
But I don't know. Did Tony? I guess Tony didn't get called up, right? And Solanke took his place. Yeah. So that I guess. I mean, I do think with Carsley, there's a lot of, I don't want to say favoritism, but he's picked players that he knows because he's used them before. Solanke, I think, was in the under Webers that won the World Cup, whenever it was. And so he's been around the system, and people know what he can do. And if England want to play that way, which I think that based on what Carsley said they're going to, then it makes a lot of sense. But I do agree with Leon. Like, when Porro got called up for Spain, I was not happy. And I understand it's an honour for him and he probably wants to do it, but I am a Spurs fan first and foremost. I don't really care about England until it's tournament time.
Yeah, what is this? Is this the Euro Nations, is it?
Yeah, the Nations League, yeah. So, I mean, it's a competitive game, and obviously if he wants to be part of the World Cup squad in less than 2 years, then he needs to be around, and he might need an injury or 2 to help him, but you've got to be around the squad, and if he does well for England, he'll stay there. But Like, it's early days for Spurs, and we're about to hit, after the November break, we've got game after game after game. I was quite happy that a lot of our internationals were getting 2 weeks off every month, or just 2 weeks to train, and that's not the case anymore.
I think the thing with Solanke, I've liked him so far. The one issue that we have is that he looks like he's strong in the air, but we don't seem to have anyone who can put a decent cross into him.
I'm saying nothing.
So, I mean, I know that people slagged him off, but when Perisic, before he got that injury, the start of last season, when he used to come, I used to like it when Ange brought on Højbjerg and Perisic to kind of manage the game in those first 10 games of last season. And Perisic stuck a decent cross in. Up until Richarlison's little run last season, most of his goals came from Perisic's crosses. We don't have that now. I think Porro can stick in a decent cross. And obviously we saw Timo put in a decent cross during the week, but that's one. That's a sample size of 1 out of 20 games. So that, I think, I like Solanke. I've been surprised on the positive side by the quality he's shown and other aspects of his game, but we need to stick a decent cross on his head.
Yeah. Well, look, we're ambitious. We're going to go places, and backing the manager shows that, doesn't it?
We have certainly backed him in the summer, of course.
He got his top targets in this data approach. He did get because he wanted wingers. This is what we were told, weren't we? I mean, we're going to go off on a tangent here. We were told that Ange's game is really about the wingers.
Yes.
So Werner, first in, impressive German international. Odegaard waited to the last minute, clearly first choice.
Because you remember Odegaard, everyone always went on about, he was great against us in May. Yeah. The thing I always think about Burnley is Odegaard all the time, don't you, Leon?
Yeah. No, it was. I felt for Levy because I mean, what I heard was he wanted to go big on that Williams player, the Spanish kid. Yeah. But Ange, I mean, they fell out about it, didn't they? Ange wanted Odegaard, and Lange, the data showed that he was the player.
Hey, Leon, did you know that in Australia they say data is data, but don't say data?
Data.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I do now,
Ange probably said data, Levy said data, and hence the...
Yeah. And that's why we signed him and not Williams or someone like that. We'll probably get Eze in January.
But is that why we signed Medicine? Because of the old data thing?
No.
Oh, very good.
There you go. So, all defenders available. So, predict your team. Starting 11, please, HG.
Well, I mean, the back five will be the back five if Udogie's fit. If Udogie's not fit,
Spence is playing, is he?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I probably would play Spence if I'm honest. If Udogie's out, the midfield will be the three that have probably started every game because we've been winning. So that'll be Bentancur and the 2 10s. Like,
do we know what Bentancur's hearing is, by the way?
How his hearing is?
Yeah, I was going to say. What was that?
When his hearing is, you muppet.
His hearing for the FA? No idea. Probably just before we've got some decent games or some bigger games. Yeah. But I think it would be very similar to the 11 that started last week. The one at Man United. Did Werner start last week at Man United?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Remember?
Yeah, Werner, Johnson, and Solanke. I would guess.
Werner was. I'm going to say something slightly controversial here. Werner was more use against Man United than Son would have been in terms of stretching their defence, because he has got pace. He does dribble past a man. Admittedly, he ain't got a clue what to do with it in the end product, which is pretty important. But Son ain't been doing any of it this season.
No.
So at least there is that high tempo pushing them back. So I know people will slate me for this, but I actually, and trust me, I want better than Timo Werner. But I don't think we're missing Son, I suppose, is the point. If anything, the forward line's enhanced without him.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that the first few games of the season when we play teams that like to sit back, then you need someone who's fast over 10 yards, which Werner clearly is, right? And defenders know that. Son doesn't have that, but Son's game has never really been that. like his best period of playing for Spurs, it was, probably him and Kane as a double act, and Kane would, play the passes and Son would make the runs, but he wasn't ever really a winger.
Yeah.
And when we were really good, when Son was part of that, like he might have had a position per se, but it was, it changed all the time. You'd find Dele sometimes on the wing, and Kane would drop deep, and Eriksen would move forward. So he's never been that Perisic kind of winger that we probably all think we need. Someone who can beat his man, get half a yard, and put a decent cross in. Like, I don't feel like we need, like, we're not going to get Eden Hazard, and we're not going to get someone who can do everything. But I think that Son probably would have benefited from playing the teams that we've played recently, where they have kind of left us a lot of space. I don't remember how much Son played against Coventry. I don't remember how much he played against Karabag. Did he score in that game? I mean, he scored a few goals this season, Son. So I still think the demise of Son, as people would call it, is basically based on the fact that he doesn't play with Kane anymore, and we don't have players that can do what Kane did. I mean, when Maddison was very hit and miss last season to do that part of Kane's game, Richarlison was out of the team quite a bit. So, like, Son is your Robin, right? He's not the Batman, but he needs a Batman for him to show what he can do, and we haven't found a way to really provide a different style of Batman. It's an awful analogy, but you know what I mean.
I think a lot of Son's game is based on his pace, cutting inside and getting those shooting opportunities. I don't think he seems to be the type of player who could adapt in the latter stages of his career and rely on other skills that he has. So you can see Kane dropping deeper, playing a different kind of role. But you look at the likes of even like Michael Owen, as soon as he lost his pace for his injuries, he was nothing, right? Rooney, to an extent, when he dropped back in the midfield, he was still the passer of a ball. He could do something. But Sonny, he's been on a downward trajectory for a couple of years now. I know it's verboten to say that. He's been a loyal servant, etc., etc. I've often wondered why he never got that mega bucks great offer from one of the big teams for him, to be honest. But it is what it is now, and I think that we should be using him more sparingly as we go forward. I mean, maybe if you remember, Pochettino's first captain was Yunus Kabul, so and you can change it.
You're saying Son's going to play centre back?
Yes.
Left wing back.
Yeah, exactly. Like Sonny has always been streaky. Right, he has always been streaky. Like he's missed a few big chances, a couple of one-on-ones, no different than what Werner did. But you just think that the chances that Werner's missed in the last couple of games, Son would have taken one of them, right? And when he gets one, then he probably would have got the next one as well, because that's just what he does. So again, I don't feel Son's been terrible. I don't feel that Werner's been worse this year than he was last year. It's just that Werner, I don't believe, is good enough, and Son has proven that he has been, and I think he still is good enough. But we obviously want better, right? I mean, like none of us think that Oliver is the finished article. I mean, really, we don't have a finished article. Maybe Solanke is. I don't think he's going to get better than he is, and Richarlison probably the same. But for our wingers, we if this is as good as Werner gets, well, that's why he's not going to sign permanently. But for everyone else, we want more. We want two types of more, but like we want more.
Really need to get Richarlison back fit, so we've got an option on the bench. To be honest, it's
he never is, so why bother?
Well,
Tell him in January.
It would be nice to have him available, wouldn't it? That's all I'm saying. And then
I think that send him in January. Send him in January to the Saudis, and then that's when we go big with our transfer war chest, right, Leon?
Could do, or I mean, last time I was up at Tottenham, I had my eye on that patch of land just by the old Park Lane bit, because you could redevelop that, couldn't you? Because that's you think about some of the flats and the penthouses and the money you could make. I'm thinking about that. To be honest with you,
I've actually put in a rival bid for a bowling alley, unless you want to go joint on it.
Could do, or one of those Laser Quest things by the F1, couldn't we? That would be quite handy, wouldn't it?
But some places do combine the bowling alley and the Laser Quest thing. We could do that.
Well, you could combine the revenue. I mean, that's even more money, isn't it? That's fantastic. We could go big in 2030.
Yeah, and then we put it all into the first team. Yeah.
100%. It's like the Chuckle Brothers, isn't it?
I
Only
knew
not
it.
so
Well,
funny.
listening to you two's like the Chuckle Brothers. I knew it. To me. I knew it was a good idea to have you on together. Right, let's talk about Brighton. So Herzler delivered a fitness update on Friday morning, confirming Milner, Gruder, Veltman, March will all be in contention for Sunday's match. However, they're still missing Joel Pedro, O'Reilly, quite a key player, Van Hecke, and Adingra. So, who are we happy with missing those players? HG, there's some of their better players are not available.
I mean, how many of those would be in their best team?
I think O'Reilly and Joel Pedro would.
O'Reilly would.
Yeah. I mean, O'Reilly's played
Three,
what,
at least.
8 minutes for him. I mean, I know they spent money, but they spent money on a few people. Like the thing with Brighton is you never really know who they're going to pick anyway. Like Hinchelwood has played, I think, 3 positions so far this season, but you know how they will play, right? You know, Mitoma will obviously be down the left, and like they'll have pace in the wings, and they'll keep the ball in midfield, and their centre backs, like Dunk has been, he's a Brighton legend, but I'm not surprised that no bigger club has ever come in for him. He's a solid mid-table defender.
Clogger.
Sorry?
He's a clogger.
No, he's not a clogger. But I mean, Webster made a mistake last week, and Chelsea punished him. And Brighton play a high line, and they don't have pacey defenders, so there will be opportunities. But like as we saw last season when we played Brighton, I mean, they wiped the floor with us, and they were 4-0 up. There's nothing to say that won't happen again, but I would be surprised if it happened again. Like I think Spurs will want to prove something after last season. There's a lot of players who will play that that played in that game last year. So I think with Brighton, it's almost you can't predict who they're going to play, but you know what they'll do, and it'll be our job to try and stop it.
We'll have some centre backs playing this time, though, didn't we? I mean, was it last time we played? And we had Davis and
Royal. Yeah, Romero didn't play that game.
Yeah, we had 4 fullbacks at the back.
Peak Levy. I think we'll beat Brighton. I'm actually quite confident. I think we'll beat him. I think he'll play Van der Ven left back, and the only question is Werner or Moore. He'll start with Werner. He should start Moore, in my opinion, but he'll start with Werner, and Moore will come on, and I think we'll beat him.
Werner will break his duck, hopefully. Well, interestingly, Postecoglou, when he was talking, said Herzler had made a real impression on everyone when he visited the Spurs training ground last year. Spent some time, asked too many questions, and I palmed him off to another coach because he was asking too many. I do love the Aussie bluntness, David. Clearly, you're also of that ilk. What do you think about?
I'm blood wherever I live, mate.
What do you think about this being infiltrated by Brighton's manager last year, then?
The thought of being infiltrated by a Brighton manager is a disturbing thought this time of the morning. But anyway, I think where was he last? He wasn't last season. Where was he?
Well, he was unemployed.
No, he was at St. Pauli.
Yeah, basically.
He won the German Championship, their second division, with St. Pauli, and got them promoted. Yeah. But like
how old is he? He's 33 or something.
No, he's not even that old. I don't think. I mean,
he's not a boomer.
Yeah, he's definitely not a boomer.
No.
I think. I mean, he's one of those weird ones where he's Swiss, but he was born in the States, and he's had a relatively multicultural upbringing. But he went to. I think he was pretty successful for a youth team for one of the German clubs, and then coached, I think, for the German underage teams, and then went to St. Pauli and basically turned them around. Like St. Pauli, they're a popular club in Germany because they're very left wing and they like to show that. But for him to get them promoted above of Hamburg, which is obviously the big team in that city. People stood up, and I was surprised that he went to Brighton. I thought he would want to test himself in the Bundesliga, but there you go. Did they win their first 2 games?
Yeah,
and they haven't won since, right? So I don't know if that means that they're good or bad, but it feels like the tables have turned somewhat.
That's their form. Last few games.
Yeah, I was surprised when I looked at their form. Actually, I thought they were doing better than they were.
They're level on points with us, aren't they? I think.
I know, but we had an appalling start. I think.
You know what I mean? As part of the research that I've done for this program, I asked my mate Dave, who's a Brighton fan, and he said that Pedro is massively key, and he's been injured since the international break.
Yeah.
And that playing this high line with the likes of Dunk at the back is not great. And the Forest and Ipswich games they should have won, but they were as wasteful as they were in front of goal and as the Potter days. So that's the Brighton intel that I bring to the program tonight.
Oh, that's good intel. Here they are last time out. They got beaten by Cole Palmer on his own, by the look of it, with a 4 goals in a half. There shouldn't be anything to worry about there, should there? Now I know there will be, because
you've just jinxed it by saying that, haven't you?
Well, now you've done it. Well done.
But like, do you know what I'm surprised with there, right? Like they've got Hinchelwood, who to me is like the Gary Neville regen, right? Like he's a right back and he's annoying and he looks like Gary Neville. But they played Kadioglu, who's a left back, at right back. And I don't know whether that was to stop whoever Chelsea would have played down that side, who may have been someone who likes to cut in, or maybe they just don't have a right back. But that seemed a strange choice to put Hinchelwood in midfield, considering that they had weaknesses at the back. And yeah, but I think Baleba's a pretty good player. He might be the next one to get a massive move somewhere else. But you're right. Like I don't look at that and think future world class.
How many will get in the Spurs team? How many of them would get in the Spurs team is what I always ask myself. So Dave, how many of those players would get in the Spurs team?
I will definitely the left forward because it means replacing Werner. So whoever that is,
Matoma,
yeah. Other than that, I mean,
the left back playing at right back would, and Matoma.
Yeah, that's about it.
Any advance on that, HG?
No, I mean, I think Verbruggen would make our squad. I think he's a good young keeper, and Vifa, he's a defensive midfielder. But I like Baleba more. I think I don't know whether it's just because he's left-footed, and you know how left-footed players somehow look a bit more elegant. They always get called that. But he came in as being Caicedo's replacement, and then last year was in and out and didn't look great. But I feel like this season he's looked pretty good. So he would make the squad. But yeah, you're looking at first team. Mitoma is the obvious one for sure.
Yeah.
He's probably the only one there who I would say would get in. There's the league table. Not much between us. I got it wrong before. We're 1 point ahead, but a win could put us, right up there in the top 4, which is our target position to finish in the top 4, isn't it? At the end of the season, so it would be. It's almost like winning a trophy getting top 4 these days, isn't it? So,
and the way things are going right now, 5th will be good enough. England had a pretty good start to that.
Yeah. So therefore, finishing 5th is almost like winning a trophy, isn't it? I suppose.
Oh.
It's part of our model. Absolutely.
Which is good.
It's good.
Which is good. It's all about maximising the revenue.
No, but the thing is, if Spurs finished 5th again this season, which I still don't think we're probably there, but if we did finish 5th this season, considering that the team is much younger, I think that would be better than last year. It would be. I feel like as Dave said earlier, having Perisic and having Højbjerg, they came on and helped us out in those early games. Yeah. And there's no guarantee that we'll be able to do it right now because we don't have that experience on the bench. However, if we finish 5th when we're playing a bunch more games, that to me that would be an improvement.
I genuinely believe
Newcastle don't have Europe, do they?
No, I think they'll be strong. I genuinely believe that we're going to win the Europa League this season. I really do.
And what is that based on?
We're the best team in it.
And what is that based on?
It's based on the fact that since we last lifted the trophy in that competition in its old format, we've never got further than the quarterfinals. Not forgetting that one night in Zagreb when we lost to a team whose manager was in prison.
Yeah. However, what's not the comment?
Caller, did you meet Tony Parks' dad a few weeks ago? Is that what it is? That you've turned things around?
I'll tell you what it is.
I
I'll
went
tell you
to a
what it
time machine.
I'll tell you what it is. There's two reasons I think this. Number one, I think we're as good as anyone in there, right? We are as good as anyone in that league. The second thing is there's no drop down this year.
Yeah.
And the thing that always stopped us, or British teams, or let's be honest, teams that are just outside the elite, i.e. us, yeah. The thing that stopped those teams from having a chance of winning the Europa League was that the Champions League, there'd always be a random Barcelona drop down, or someone, Monaco, PSG, etc., would drop in and then dominate the competition, and that's what happens, yeah. I
reckon if you lined up everyone that we've been knocked out by in the last 5 years and asked the question, had they dropped down from the Champions League? I suspect the answer is no.
Again, I don't know who dropped down last year, but the final was Atalanta and Leverkusen, and I'm pretty certain Leverkusen didn't drop down. I remember one year it was Eintracht against Rangers. I don't think either of those dropped down from the Champions League. So, yes, I understand what you're saying, that there's always a potential for a big team to drop down, but the Champions League was kind of designed so that didn't happen, right? It was only really, was it last year in the Newcastle group? Newcastle didn't make it, so it was Milan that dropped down, and they didn't go on to do anything. So I just, I get it. You're right. You look at the teams that are in the competition, the highest seeded team is Roma, and they've already sacked their manager this season, so they're not doing too well. And Lazio are there, and I guess you could look at. Where are you looking? Who's the French teams are in it? I couldn't tell you who they were. Right? It's not Marseille. It's not Monaco. Lyon are there, and Lyon, the second half of last season really turned things around, because they went towards the relegation zone and they ended up finishing getting a European place. So yeah, you're right. There's no one to fear. But I fear Spurs more than I fear the other teams.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Nailed on comment.
Yeah, well, it's always the threat, right? Are you telling me I can't believe? Have a little faith. We're favourites, God damn it. We're going to win it.
Unfortunately, I've got to go in a minute. So all I would say on this point is the thinness and paucity of our squad depth will mean towards the latter stages of the season, it may count against us for this competition.
No, you've got it all wrong, Dave, because we're going to go big in January. It's the most important January transfer window in years.
We're going to go big in January, the 30th of January, definite.
Cameron's got it. You need to get it. Belief is all you need.
I believe.
Another question. If Man U change their manager, do they have a better chance than us?
Not necessarily. But they do have an annoying habit.
If it's Gareth Southgate, definitely.
But if they don't change their manager, Ten Hag wins trophies.
Yeah.
United beat City on their day. This is it. There's a good chance if Ten Hag stays around, which let's face it, probably won't happen. But if he did hang around, then that will be their route for the Champions League. Right, they'll give up on the Premier League. They won't worry about that. They'll be focusing on Europa, and so, you can't kind of, you have to consider that it's possible, if only for the fact that there's a very good chance Ten Hag's getting sacked next week, and then it start again for them. And again, we've played 9 games this season. It's still really early on for everybody. So I don't know. You just don't know.
Well, Levy loved a good sacking in October, November. So, not saying that he's not doing it now, to be clear.
Is he going to sack Ten Hag for him?
Well, would you have taken Ten Hag's would you have taken an FA Cup, League Cup in the last 2 seasons, which Ten Hag delivered for United, if he was our manager? Remember, because he turned down Ten Hag because he wasn't charismatic enough, but then hired Nuno, who was full of jokes and tricks. Just saying.
He's doing well with Forest.
But would you have taken Ten Hag? So Ten Hag's won an FA Cup and a League Cup in the last 2 seasons. And
your question is, your question is.
But would you have taken that for us? Would you, in all seriousness, it's not a Levy thing. I'm genuinely questioning. Would you have taken what Ten Hag has delivered for United in the last 2 seasons, which has been 2 trophies?
I would do, but he wouldn't have done it at Tottenham because he wouldn't have got that kind of money to spend, would he? That's that's the issue. Like if Ten Hag was our manager, we wouldn't have won 2 trophies. There's a reason why we've only won 1. Well, if we win a Carabao Cup, would it be a success? I'll take any cup. Any cup and top 5 would be amazing.
Audi Cup.
I wouldn't take the
Audi
Conference
Cup.
League. I wouldn't take the Conference League, but I'd take any cup other than that.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I've
Oh,
got
so
to
you're
go.
selective about your European trophies, are you, Dave?
Well, I've always said Conference League's the egg and spoon race of European football. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got to go. It's lovely being on. I'm going off to boxing. So
Enjoy
lovely.
your boxing, Dave.
Thanks very much for having me on. Leon, what a fantastic debut. You should definitely come back on again.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you. Have a good one.
To see you. Good night. Good morning.
Good night. Good night.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no. To answer Dave's question, I wouldn't swap that because it's about progress, isn't it? I think I want to see us win something big. The FA Cup's big, but I think you're right, Leon. He wouldn't have won it at Spurs anyway.
And this is the thing. Like we have to remember that when Ten Hag was appointed manager of Man United, we just qualified for the Champions League under Conte, so we weren't going to switch. Like I love the idea of saying, do we want a Spurs manager to win 2 trophies in 2 years? Well, yes, is the answer. But none of us would have swapped Conte for him when he went to Man United. And frankly, none of us would have swapped him for anyone we've had since. Right? We wouldn't have swapped him when Conte left. We wouldn't have swapped him when Ange came in. Yes, it's good for Man United that they're winning stuff, but I would rather be in Spurs' position than Man United right now.
Yeah, League Cup don't count though, does it? Let's be honest.
Well, if it doesn't count, then Spurs have won nothing for 37. No, I mean, is it 33 years?
91.
I think it counts when you've not won many trophies.
Yeah,
you know, a League Cup would be great. I mean, I'd want more than that, but to turn our noses up at it, nah, I'll take a League Cup.
Exactly.
You're all too easily satisfied. And on that bombshell, if you're watching on Twitter, get over to our YouTube page. Do follow us, subscribe, like the videos. If you're watching on YouTube, just hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell. We call it the little Dave, and you'll never miss a show if you do that. It's been an absolute pleasure to be with you tonight with 3 fantastic guests. Leon, again, thanks for. I mean, I don't know whose debut you want to compare it to Spurs-wise, but, a solid debut, I thought.
Maybe Andy Turner. Did he come on and score twice? Or I mean, it was really hazy days.
Everton at home, right? I think it might have been Everton that he came on. And maybe not twice, but he definitely scored.
Do you know what? I was thinking of Scott Houghton. Because he come on it. He scored twice.
Yeah,
he used to bully me at school, the little... I won't go.
Really?
He was a right little git, he was. Yeah.
I was at that game, the Houghton game.
Yeah, I was as well.
The only time I've ever been to Spurs with my dad was that game.
I remember you that day. I remember what you were getting up to. This is the old school HG. Before
I turned the floodlights off. That was me.
I know. You honestly, when you broke into the... Anyway, we'll talk about it off air. But no, look, listen, great to be here. Very brave to put me on with Davo. Lovely to see you all. Yeah,
you have to have some strong facilitation, but sometimes it's just fun to see what happens if I leave you to your own devices. HG, as ever, thanks for joining. I didn't get your score predictions, did I? That's what I haven't done. HG, score prediction.
2-2.
Leon, score prediction.
3-1 us.
I'll go 2-1 us because Brennan Johnson scored the winner. Until next time, HG, thanks for being here. Leon, thanks for being here. Follow us on all our socials. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.